We're here with none other than Shantelle Thompson, 2016 Sportsperson of the Year. Welcome.
No, Mob. It's so great to be here, and wow, what a trip down memory lane to be reminded of that.
Tell us a little bit about that time of the year or your life for you, and that night. Can you remember the build-up? Can you remember applying? Can you remember not sure? What was it all like?
Actually, to be completely honest, I didn't apply. I knew that the NAIDOC Awards existed, but there was no sports category at that point. Just a few months before NAIDOC that year, I'd won my second world title, and it was actually the moment that I held the Aboriginal flag up on the stage, and I was like, okay, I'm a two-time world champion. I'm really proud of what I've done. And then I got this invitation to attend the Vic NAIDOC Awards, and I was really curious. I thought I was there to be a speaker, and then I found out that I was actually an award winner, and it was because Lydia Thorpe, the chair at the time, had actually heard about my story, and she was so proud of what I've achieved and the story of me actually getting to that point that I think that was the first time in 10 years that someone had been nominated for the Sports Awards, and that was almost the rebirth of the Sports Awards for the Vic NAIDOC Awards. So for me, it was such an honour, and it was the first time I met Annie Pam Pedersen.
Oh, wow.
And since that award, it was what's been so humbling is to hear other young sports people who have come to me, like young Hayley Bloom, who said it's such an honour to follow in Auntie Chantelle's footsteps, because obviously I've met a lot of young people through the Coringa Institute's REAL program. So for me, it was such an honour, and it just opened up so many other things, but it opened up and it created this new determination to go, my community's watching, they're recognising and validating what I'm doing, but it gave me the energy to kind of go, well, what's the next step? What can I do to keep going and kind of bring people with me on the journey?
Well, you mentioned that you're already a two-time champion before getting the award. What was the difference between being acknowledged by a community as opposed to the other awards?
Look, the first year that I won my first world title, there wasn't really much recognition or acknowledgement of what I'd done by community or even by my family. I think people were proud of me, but people didn't really know what to do with it. But the second year, when I think it was because I stood on the stage with the flag and I was so proud of it that image kind of went viral. But then when Lydia nominated me for the award and it reopened, and to be nominated by someone like Lydia, who's such a staunch, unapologetically fierce warrior woman who has fought to serve our community, has really made a difference. And it was such a powerful moment. But to go on from that award and 2 years later to win my third world title and to be able to bring that acknowledgement with me it's something that I'm able to talk to young people about, other women who are mums. So yeah, it was such a powerful experience, and still is. It's something that is probably a highlight of my career.
Wow, what's that? And you've had a few highlights, so it's been 5 years or 4 years since that award.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the night. Can you? Was there any moments and throughout the week? How was the week for you after winning that award?
The week after the award was amazing. It was so great to be a part of the community and kind of go to the NAIDOC ball and to be a part of the wider Victorian community with that acknowledgement of those who had come before me, but also just being able to share my story and hear people being so proud of me. But I think definitely a highlight wasn't NAIDOC 2016 in terms of the outside of the award itself. It was in 2017 being invited to be a keynote speaker at the awards and having an opportunity to share my story and everything. And even on the NAIDOC event, the ball itself, I was just like, wow, I'm going to be a speaker and
Yeah.
they're going to ask me to share my story. And my partner's like, you got something prepared? I'm like, no. They'll only ask me to just go up there. And it was like, no, you're going up there to speak. So yeah, it was really powerful, and I learned a lot about myself, but it also reminded me of those who have come before me and the responsibility that I carry in those moments and going forward as well.
What do you think the importance it is, the importance behind Aboriginal people being acknowledged in the first place, as opposed to a lot of the layout of the landscape? There's not a lot of awards for us, or we don't get acknowledged for them. We're doing the same amount of things, even harder work, if you'd say that. How important is it that we do have space to acknowledge our own people?
I think it's vital because we have here in Victoria alone, we have public holidays for a horse race and an AFL, like a sports day, but yet both state and nationally, we still do not even have a day to celebrate our culture or to mourn our culture. We're still having debates around Survival Day versus Australia Day. We've just had the desecration of one of our most sacred trees and people who have been fighting for that. So I think that to balance out, I don't even think for mainstream Australia, but to balance out for ourselves and to remind ourselves of the fact that so many people fought so that we could even have something like NAIDOC, that it's important to celebrate and remember that for every struggle that we have, there's so many big wins and little wins along the way. And we're only 50 years into the journey of mainstream Australia even stepping on board to go, we support Aboriginal Australia, we want to work together. That's a really young journey in terms of our trauma history. So I think it's absolutely vital that we stop and we celebrate, we acknowledge and we validate not just our culture and the events, but also the people who are out there striving to make a difference and breaking through those stereotypes, and often not in pursuit of themselves, but in service of the wider community or wanting to make a difference.
This year's theme always was, always will be. What is that? It's a yeah. What is it? What do you think about? Yeah, explain a little bit about the theme and how you kind of interpret it.
I've really kind of sat with this theme because I think, particularly in 2020, in terms of what we've been through this year with COVID, Black Lives Matters, what's happened in America, but how we had to fight to even justify the fact that this isn't an American issue, like this is an Australian issue as well. And I saw a post from Mandy Nicholson in early COVID, and it reminded Aboriginal people, hey, you mob, we've been through this before. Like, we know what it is to go into lockdown. We know what it is to go through all types of incarceration and these going into lockdown. So we've been through this before, and it was really about reminding us of the resilience of our mob to be able to move through difficult times. And so always was is about remembering that even though we've had 230 years of colonization, we've been here since the beginning of time. Like, our bloodline, our songlines are in the very earth of this country. So it's remembering that we have always been here. Our culture always is, even though it's now evolving and changing. Some people are remembering, some people are evolving. And then always was is that reminder that we still have work to do. It always will be our culture, our country, our First Peoples, but we've got work to do for the next generation so that they inherit a better experience than what we did. And I think that's the work of any generation, is to try and make the world a better place for those that are yet to come.
We mentioned generation. You're a great person to interview because you must know what I'm going to say next. It's a nice segue. Speaking to the next generation coming up, what words or thoughts do you have in your short time on Earth? How do you encourage the younger Indigenous people coming up, in particular when it comes to NAIDOC Week, and they think about how can they get an award, but how can they influence their community?
I think I'm very much a straight talker. I'm big on tough love, and I think very much that it's not your fault what has happened in the past, but it's definitely your responsibility to stand up and do your part, because a lot of people, particularly our young people, and I've worked with young people for more than 15 years now, there's a certain sense of victim mentality that pervades our community, our young people. Now, some people, that is through no fault of their own, that is an inherited thing. But for others, there is a capacity to move beyond that, but they either choose not to, or they choose to kind of stay stuck there. There's a sense of entitlement that, or I hear it often, there's all these programs and kids go, oh, I'm bored with that, or I don't want to do this, or that's gammon, or that's shame. And it's like, hold on, you have a responsibility. People have fought so you can have this opportunity. So it's your responsibility to step up and take that opportunity on. And then there's a severe lack of gratitude as well for the work that's been done to get to where they are. So I think there's, particularly around inner city kids, there's a plethora of opportunities And there's a lot of people working in silos as well. So I think we need to start to work together more holistically. But for young people, it's a tough love message. Just, yes, we do have things tough, but we have far more opportunities and support and a stronger foundation than a lot of generations who have come before us. We're in a different type of chain, but I think we hold the key to our own chains in a lot of ways. And there's people who are willing to fight for you, but if you're not willing to fight for yourself, there's nothing that can be done to create change or opportunity. And there's we make up 3% of the wider population, but one of the challenges is that 80% of our mob might be still stuck in struggle. So the 10 or 20% that are left, we're still struggling, we're still learning to manage our own traumas and our own issues and stuff, but we're left doing all of the work, and then we're trying to bring the other 80% with us. And that can be a really hard, challenging space when you're trying to do your culture, trying to do your culture responsibilities, but you're also trying to make it work in the Western context, because we have to live in the reality of the world as it is, whilst we work towards the world that we want to have.
Shantelle, I think it's timely that you were the person to bring back the sports award. If you would label it that, I know there was a lot of work from Auntie Pam. I think you're a deserved winner. And 4 or 5 years on, you are still an absolute champion. I thank you for sharing today.
No, look, thank you so much. And this award has just opened up so many other opportunities for me. It's opened up so many other chapters, and it's something, when I often speak to kids about my resume, or I get introduced to people, I often say, I don't say any of this to impress you, but rather to express to you the potential of what's possible. And being an older female, a much later starting life athlete, and this award led to me, Auntie Pam pressuring me and saying, come on, you need to nominate for the national award. And in 2019, after I won my 3rd world title in Jiu-Jitsu, Auntie Pam nominated me for the National NAIDOC Sportsperson of the Year, and I won 2019 National NAIDOC Sportsperson of the Year, only the 8th female to win that award in its 40-year history. And a lot of that was thanks to Auntie Pam, and it all started with Lydia's work as well. And yeah, I'm really grateful.
That was silly. Technical. Who cares? Hey, thank you so much. Well, Shantelle, this has been brilliant, and I look forward to seeing you around the NAIDOC traps as soon as we are let out of our cage.
No, thank you, brother. And to all of those taking time out for NAIDOC this year, please take the time to reflect and pay our respects to those who have come before, but just as importantly, time to celebrate and honour what's to come.
Thank you so much, Shantelle Thompson.